All right, everyone, why don't we get started? We'll have a few more speakers joining us. However, we have the first 3 or 4 already in here, so we'll start without further ado. So today we have a packed call. Up first, we have Raul, Governance Council member, to give an update on council motions and proposals for the past month on Polkadot's governance. We also have Mache, the founder and CTO of Turn, to join us to talk about the completion of their recent Web3 Foundation grant. We have Talisman Wallet joining us here today to talk about a better way to view your portfolio. We will have Hernan from Polkadot Community member to join us to talk about the Latin American Polkadot Hackathon they have starting soon. We also have Subsocial joining us today to talk about their newly announced and launched energy system. We'll have InvArch joining us as well to talk about GitArch and their DAO CDK. And then we'll also have Sequester join us to talk about their proposal live right now on Polkadot's treasury for them to become a common good parachain. So without further ado, let's hand it over to Raul.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you for joining the community call. As always, it's been a busy month on the governance of Kusama and Polkadot relay chains. I'm going to separate this section on both Kusama and Polkadot networks, and within them on governance proposals and treasury proposals, up for vote and up for discussion. So we can start with Kusama right away. In the last month, Kusama had 2 runtime upgrades. The first one is runtime version 9280. The full details can be reviewed on the release notes on GitHub. This proposal has already passed. And at the moment, up for vote, we have referendum 231 for an upgrade of the runtime in Kusama to version 9290. This particular runtime upgrade fixes nomination pools pending rewards and makes sure that the pool's metadata is removed if pool dissolves. It's up for vote as referendum 231, with 5 days remaining. So please go to the Democracy Module tab and make sure you cast your vote. Referenda 227 has been passed and executed successfully after community vote. This referendum updates the nomination pools with the fixes of the bugs in version 9271 and 9280 on the runtime upgrades. The staking team sees no further issues and requested to delete the limits on nomination pools. So right now, the proposal has lifted the limits imposed by motion 495 before on Kusama, allowing up to 256 nomination pools and 1,024 members each. So congratulations to the staking team for this achievement. Referendum 222 has also been executed. This executed a statement common good chain to extend its lease for 2 more years as the entry point for network assets. The chain also aims for the next year to take a more system-level functionality, allowing Kusama balances on staking and governance functions as well. The lease will be for 2 more years, and you can find all of the information on Polk Assembly and Subsquare under referendum 222. For treasury proposals on Kusama, I've selected 4 particular proposals which I think are interesting for the discussion and the vote on the community. The first one is Polkadot JS Plus proposal, motion 539, which was approved by the council. This motion particularly aims to fund a user-friendly extension to interact with substrate-based change through browser features. Among other features, it includes staking, nomination pools, governance, social account recovery, and the redevelopment of their UI and UX. So congratulations to the team for the approval of this motion. The second one, I'm not going to extend much because Hernan from Polkadot Hub will talk about it, but it's the Polkadot Hackathon in Latin America that was approved by motion 538. This is a 6 weeks online event, including mentoring, workshops, and of course a hackathon in collaboration with Web3 Foundation and the participation of various parachains teams. It includes 4 tracks. Hernan will be able to provide more information about this. Make sure to look at their website, it's really cool, and make sure to participate. The third proposal I want to talk about is Motion 521 for the rollout of Kusama Decentralization Analytics. This tool is an analytic designed to measure effective decentralization of Polkadot and substrate validation processes, and you can find it also under Motion 521 on Polkassembly and Subsquare, of course. And the fourth one, and up for vote, is WAC Media's request to top up the bounty number 12, being up for vote right now by the Council as motion 545. Given the recent intense discussion in the Kusama Direction channel by the community and Council, we've decided to pass this particular motion as an external, meaning that the Council will vote and then community will vote on this particular proposal in referenda queue. We want to thank team for adjusting the proposal based on the community feedback and discussion and for all of the information that they provided. Really, really appreciated. Let's move to Polkadot Network. Regarding governance proposal, Polkadot runtime upgrade to version 9280 as referendum 75 is now up for vote. There are 3 days and 20 hours left, so make sure you cast your vote in the Democracy Module tab on Polkadot.js apps or using any of the wallets. The release notes can be found on the post. This upgrade particularly adds nomination pools to the Polkadot runtime, which is very exciting. But this feature will need to be configured after via governance to be used. So after the runtime upgrade, we'll need a governance proposal in order to configure the particular feature and nomination pools. There was also a proposal to increase the number of allowed HRMP channels from 10 to 30. This was referendum 70 that was passed also by the community. And this allows parachains to increase interoperability with other chains until approaching the limit of 30. We want to thank the Acalisate on the Polkadot console for proposing this particular referendum. The third particular governance proposal I want to talk about is the second batch of statement HRMP channels with other parachains. This is referendum 74, also up for vote for the next 20 days. This particular batch includes the opening of HRMP channels for Affinity, Centrifuge, Interlay, Phala, and Darwinia, and if approved by the community, will enact in block 12,477,299. You can find all of the information, including the proposal hash and the image that has been submitted in the Polkassembly post or in the Subsquare post. Regarding Treasury, a few proposals that have been interesting for me in the past month is the Polkadot event to be funded for token 2049 on Singapore. This was motion 260, which was executed by the council and approved. This came from a really big coalition of teams of 21 projects in the ecosystem and includes a whole event with discussion sessions, talks, and panels. Congratulations, particularly to A-Star for leading this coalition of teams to have a Polkadot presence on one of the biggest events in Asia this year. Motion 264, it's up for vote, and it covers the development of an open source user interface font for the Polkadot ecosystem after the success of the Unbounded font that was also developed by the same team called NAN. This is an effort for experiment with Polkadot rebranding with participation of the community. Unbounded font was the first open source freely available and on-chain funded font, and this particular motion aims to develop a font that is exclusively directed to user interface and to continue the community participation on this brand experiment. It's up for vote right now as motion 264, so we request all council members to please review the contextual information and vote on it. A third proposal is also up for vote as motion 263. This is .alert, and they aim to cover operational costs for Q4 2022. The platform is a knowledge base that provides guidelines for assets management and includes topics from security and staking to blockchain regulations in different jurisdictions. It is led by the great Anael, who is a community member that has been working on content production and knowledge bases for quite some time now. So super exciting to see this proposal up for vote. Make sure you review the website and the content to be created in the contextual information. I want to highlight 3 proposals that are up for discussion right now on Polkadot ecosystem, the Polkadot network. The first one is Gossamer. The ChainSafe team has pushed a proposal for discussion for ongoing development grant. Gossamer is a Polkadot host implementation that is written in Go to build and run nodes compatible with Polkadot and Substrate. And after successful collaboration with Web3 Foundation, the team aims to further develop the client for the next 12 months with treasury funding and community support. This is strategically important for the ecosystem for true client diversity. So make sure you review the proposal that you can find on Polkassembly and Subsquare and leave your comments and question. And the second proposal I want to highlight, which will also be discussed during the community call today, so I'm not going to give a lot of information, I'm going to leave the team giving a lot of information, is a package for a project that is called the Green Polkadot project. The Green Polkadot project is a project that is led by Sequester, Bitgreen, and Evercity. This includes 2 particular proposals. First, the development and measurement of carbon emissions via a dashboard for the entire Polkadot ecosystem. We know that have been reports in the past about the carbon emission on the Polkadot ecosystem in comparison to other chains, but this team aims to specifically calculate the carbon emissions in the Polkadot ecosystem, including relay chain, parachains, and protocols built on top on these parachains. This will include a dashboard development that will be dynamic. And the second proposal is the creation of a common good chain that will allow, with contributions and upon governance approval of the different parachains, contributions from these parachains in order to mint, swap, and retire carbon tokens to decarbonize the Polkadot ecosystem. You can find all of this information on Polkassembly and Subsquare. As always, don't forget to join the Kusama and the Polkadot Direction channel. All of the links will be shared after this call, and we will be also posting on the newly released Polkadot forum the recap for both Kusama and Polkadot Network to be shared with the community. That's all for now, and thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Raul. It is never a busy month on Polkadot and Kusama, and this month was no exception. Like Raul said, there was a lot of information there, and I'm sure you all weren't taking notes. So all of these links have already been shared in the Polkadot forum. I saw Raul did that prior to this call, but we will also, from Polkadot's Twitter, share all the links to all of those votes and treasury proposals and discussions on Polkassembly from Twitter following this call. So you will, because I'm sure you didn't remember all of that. So without further ado, up next we have Talisman Wallet.
Hey, can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I'm Jonathan, one of the co-founders of Talisman. And thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to share some thoughts and news about Talisman's new portfolio view. The framing for this is pretty simple. There's kind of some UX patterns that lots of people in Web3 have become accustomed to inside wallets when it comes to viewing their balances. Most people expect to be able to unlock a wallet, and there might be some kind of account selection tool to change the interface to show different accounts. And most wallets nowadays also include some kind of filtering of the interface based on the network that they're on. So you can change the actively selected network to get a view of your balances on these different chains. And this should all be pretty familiar to most users of Web3 dApps. And intuitively, this might make sense. But it's a pattern that's kind of born out of an evolution where wallet interfaces catered for one network, and then they started to cater for many, but didn't really change the underlying principles when doing so. And we've kind of done some user research at Talisman and realized that this isn't congruent with the Polkadot ecosystem. Most early adopters have participated in kind of some number of crowd loans and have assets on a lot of different chains, or they have moved DOT or Kusama from the relay chains to parachains via XCM, or they've kind of performed some kind of staking or locked their funds in governance to kind of further change the positions of their assets. And for these users to enjoy a portfolio experience that's on par with other ecosystems that only have to really deal with kind of one air quotes primary chain, the conventional wallet patterns that we've seen since like MetaMask came out in 2016 or whatever just aren't sufficient. So in the past few months, we've addressed this at Talisman with the new wallet interface inside of the extension. We launched this kind of some weeks ago now, but essentially it's a ground up revamp of the wallet experience. We've reasoned from first principles and decided to just remove the concept of ever having to switch the active network inside of the wallet. So this gives you the ability to display funds to users in a way that's congruent with the fact that they probably have several key pairs and they probably have assets on several chains. So if you have kind of Kusama on multiple chains, you can ascertain that fact at a glance. On the first screen, you can kind of see with little icons on the networks that you have that asset, where it is and by how much if you kind of go into some other views. And some user testing has also indicated that this serves as a nice kind of visual identifier to differentiate between your accounts. I can kind of talk about it here, but I will otherwise encourage you guys to check out screen grabs on our Twitter, or better yet, test it out with your own accounts and see how you like it, because it really is a bit of a paradigm shift with how portfolio management is happening within wallets. And I think it's a good step towards a multi-chain future. That's kind of the pitch out of the way, but the kind of the real reason and the call to action as to why I wanted to come on this community call and talk about this topic is the fact that we can't build Talisman without the community. Your feedback, your ideas, and your insights are the most valuable asset to this ecosystem in the mission to kind of create novel and valuable products like Talisman. Keeping our ears kind of to the ground and addressing the pain points that you guys on this call, the early adopters, are experiencing. By doing this, we can kind of move the whole ecosystem up a level and provide products and services that reflect the progress that has been made on Substrate and Polkadot. And it's like a really important feedback loop and an important process to get going. You know, if we can have an ecosystem where there is inertia with kind of high quality discussion and high quality user feedback, then it benefits every builder and every user. So to this end, please jump into the Talisman Discord or Twitter or the new Polkadot forums to kind of air some of these pain points or ideas around how different experiences can be created in the ecosystem. I'd love to engage in that discussion. But otherwise, we're going to keep working on a couple of things. We've got some new onboarding coming on into the extension and a new transaction history page in the Talisman web app, which should kind of help elevate the portfolio management set of tools in the ecosystem with some nice improvements. And I think I'll finish off by mentioning something that Gav spoke about at a recent public appearance. And he was kind of talking about the different priorities that you need to have when you're building technology. I mean, first, it needs to be safe and secure. And then once it's safe and secure, you can kind of make sure that it has some functions and it has value. But then lastly, you have to make sure that the thing is pleasurable to use. And at Talisman, we're really privileged to be working on the latter of these problems, building something that makes the chains and the infrastructure that the other teams have built pleasurable to use for the end user. So this is kind of our mission. We're really privileged to be working on this, and the feedback of the community is the most important asset we have. So please get involved. the high quality community of builders and users is this ecosystem superpower. And I'm really excited about how we can leverage that in the next few months. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, really exciting stuff. For those that aren't familiar with Talisman Wallet, you can check them out on Twitter. Again, these links to their new portfolio and their blog about it will be shared after this call. But definitely head over to their Twitter and give them a follow and make sure to stay up to date with all the new features that they're adding to their wallet. All right, and up next, we will have Hernan, a Polkadot community member, to talk about their Latin AM hackathon.
Hello? Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, hi, everyone. I'm Hernan Borelli, most known as Ernie in the community. Thanks for having me today in this community call. And yes, I'm here to inform about the Polkadot Hackathon Latam, which is the first Polkadot Hackathon for the Spanish community. So, first of all, I would like to give thanks to Urban Ospal and Sophie from the Polkadot Hackathon team. They support us from the beginning of this process. We have been working pretty close with them, and yeah, we are still. Also to Raul for everything. Raul contacts, advices, all. And also, I don't want to forget Otar for the support in the process of the proposal building. Thanks to the all Kusama community and the council members for support this proposal and take time for analyze and discuss this content in the Polk Assembly. Say this, I want to talk briefly about the hackathon as well, the schedule, structure, content, and marketing plan. So, Polkadot Hackathon Latam is an online event, 6-week event, which include 21 sessions between workshops, mentor hours, and ecosystem sessions. We have set a pre-hackathon session to inform about the whole process of the event and talk about the latest Polkadot hackathons. So this pre-hackathon session will be the next Monday, 26th of September. So the hackathon starts on 3 of October until 10 of November. This is the hackathon period. And after that, we have 9 days for the judgment period. And closing ceremony is on 19 of November. This is about the schedule. 21, to sum up this information, to sum up is 21 sessions, online sessions between workshops, mentor hours, and ecosystem sessions. About the application and submissions team submissions. Our website was built to receive applications in the submissions and also has a private section for judges analyze all submissions and determine the winners. So after application, teams will have a kind of profile in the platform to upload all the information about their ideas and development as the repository link of GitHub and the video pitch link, and also a brief text about the explaining about the idea. What else? The teams can integrate, but for just one person or even with a maximum of 5 people per team. Teams will be able to apply for one main track and also for one ecosystem track. It's mandatory first to pick one of the main tracks we determine I will talk about this next. Yeah, it's mandatory to pick one first track. To pick one of the main track first, and then they can pick one ecosystem track. So about the tracks categories, we determined 4 main tracks. The first one is Web3 tooling and public infrastructure. The second is EVM compatible. We determined this category because we consider that there are a lot of Solidity developers in Latin America with a lot of potential, and follow the idea of Polkadot of the interoperability, not just within the ecosystem, also with other ecosystem like Ethereum. We include this track for EVM compatible and Solidity developers. The third track is DeFi, and the fourth track is NFT. Also, we have the ecosystem challenges from Moonbeam, one from Moonbeam, and the others from Zeitgeist. So the first tracks, the first 4 tracks are the main tracks, and we have 2 tracks from the ecosystem challenges, one from Moonbeam and the other from Zeitgeist. So about participants in this hackathon that we have already confirmed. The participants will be in the mentor office hours as mentors, also given workshops about the parachains technology, how to run a validator node, and yeah, we have a lot of workshops about substrates, ink technology, and also the participants. We have already confirmed Moonbeam, here, Darwinia, Akala, Subsocial, Aster, Zeitgeist, Crucial DAO, Mangata, Encointer, Sense Node, which is a validator node in the Polkadot and Hackathon network, Killing Network, and Virtu. We talk today morning also with the Fala team. They are interested to join the event. So thanks, Zoe, for the contact and introduce the event to them. What else? We have also involved people from Parity as mentors in the mentors team, judges team, and host of the event. I want to thank Santiago Balaguer, Ursula, Alejandro Martinez, and Alex Bean to join to the event. About the marketing plan, which Ezio Rojas is in charge of this activity, working with a Trevia agency, and we have also media partners as Crypto Tendencia, Crypto 247, and also Lengo and Almisten. There are people from the community that leads and integrate devs community in Latin America. So these work are really important for to have more developers in the application and submissions. And also we are making connections with universities in Spain and also in some countries in Latam. That's the work about the marketing plan. So to sum up the situation, we have the applications open, and yeah, next Monday is the pre-hackathon session, and the hackathon will start on 3 of October. I want to ask, at last, I want to ask the community for support, maybe in the communication process, to have as much participation of developers as possible. And yeah, that's all.
Great. Thank you, Hernan. Yes, just to sum up, this is a wonderful initiative. a hackathon in Latin America focusing on 4 major categories: blockchain tooling, smart contracts, DeFi, and NFTs. And like he said, many parachains or Polkadot ecosystem projects are either providing challenges like Moonbeam and Zeitgeist in addition to Polkadot, but also participating like A Star and Darwinia, Akala, Gear, Subsocial, Mangata, and Cointer, Kylan, Crypto 24/7, and so many more. So definitely take part. If you're a developer, definitely take part. But even if you're not, you can join a team and maybe help them with business plan or marketing or design or anything like that. So I've penned to this space a tweet about it, and on there is a link to the website. It's Polkadot Hackathon Latin America, .com. And again, yeah, Latin AM. Again, it will be shared in the tweet thread following this in case you didn't grab it, but it's also here at the top of this community call as well. So speaking of participants, Subsocial is one of them, and they are also here to join us on the community call today to discuss their energy system.
Hey everyone, Young Beef here from Subsocial. Just want to thank everyone for coming today. So a big problem with Web3 today is, we're building all these cool applications, but users need to have tokens to pay for the transaction fees to use the applications. Obviously, we have to have transaction fees as a defense against DDoS attacks, but this is a big barrier for onboarding new users. I mean, if we're familiar with crypto already, getting a new token isn't that big of a deal. But if someone is not into crypto at all and they want to use an application, having to sign up for an exchange and all this stuff, it's a really big barrier. So, applications could just give users tokens to do that. But then a bunch of scammers are going to come up. And I mean, if someone's giving you free tokens, you can't just go sell them, and that kind of defeats the whole point. So we created this energy system. It's kind of like a second layer. So energy is not really a token per se. You can't transfer it, but when it's created, you can create it in other accounts. So basically you burn subtokens, and you can create energy either in your account or in someone else's account. The energy cannot be converted back into sub, so the tokens are burned forever and it's deflationary. So the advantage of this is it basically solves that problem of if you give someone tokens for a transaction, they might just go sell them. So we can bring new users into an application. We can enable them to perform transactions, but we don't have this problem of people just abusing the system. So this is really good for onboarding new users. It also makes transactions pretty cheap. There's an on-chain parameter, we call it the energy coefficient. It can be changed. Right now it's set to 5x. So this means that you can perform 5 times as many transactions with one energy as you could with one sub. So right now, I think with one sub token, you can do about 50 transactions. If you instead burn that and create energy, you can do around 250. So that makes if you do it with energy, the cost of one transaction is about 0.004 sub with a total supply of 1 billion. So it's very cheap. I don't think it matters that much because it's so small, but I just wanted to point it out because people always talk about having to pay to use a social network. I also wanted to highlight quickly, we have our upcoming NFT collection, the Spacers. If you go on the landing page for that at spacers.app, you can see that one of the utilities that they will provide is some free energy every day for holders. I think that's really cool. I don't know of any other chain that lets owners of particular NFTs basically use the chain for free every day to a certain extent. So anyone that uses Subsocial a lot or plans to do so in the future should look into those. So if you do have subtokens already, you can go to app.subsocial.network/energy. You can burn sub there to create energy for yourself or for friends if you want to, get a friend on using the platform. Or if you go on our Discord to the Energy Bot channel, you can get some energy there as well. That's just because our token is not publicly available yet. So that's all we've got for now. Thanks again for having us on.
Great. Thank you for joining. And pinned to this Twitter Space is also their announcement and blog. So head over there if you want to learn more. Up next, we have Maciej, founder and CTO of Turn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Here to share the updates on XBI. XBI is the standard we've been working on exchanging the messages over XCM. And perhaps a word of introduction on why do we think, and from the perspective of Turn, why is it important? So in Turn, what we provide is the hub for developers to create the smart contracts that are cross-chain and interact with many chains that provide also the fail-safe aspect, meaning that if the execution has already started, it will continue and tick all of the transactions on all of the connecting chains successfully, or revert the execution on all of them. So it provides kind of the same experience that you would have expected from creating the smart contracts on a single ledger chain like Ethereum, and to provide a seamless experience on onboarding for users and developers. As part of Turn, we are building the whole platform to facilitate the network traffic, introducing several different actors to it. So we currently are proceeding with the bootstrap of the network ecosystem on Rococo, where we onboard collators, where we onboard executors, and then also in the later part, attesters. Attesters will be the actors responsible for confirming the ingress and outgress traffic from the remote to Polkadot consensus systems. As we saw, pretty much needed from the Turn perspective, but also we decided to take it a step further and share the communication standard as a Web3 Foundation grant proposal. How do we really reach with communication to other parachains over the XCM transact? So we saw that there is a space open over there to add additional standards, and this is exactly what XBI is doing. It provides additional standards over how the XBI messages are being formed, and then included within the traffic that goes via XCM transact. The two parts of XBI messages is XBI order. So XBI orders can be added kind of dynamically, and we don't really expect that all of the chains will add all of the XBI orders, but they're meant to be highly functional. So you can expect the orders that are open as a first draft of the grant proposal. You can expect the orders that are responsible for implementing all of the DeFi interactions, for transporting, for transferring assets, and also for the generic codes to both WASM and EVM virtual machines, as well as any other virtual machine that could be implemented by other parachains. So that's the first part, XBI order. The second part is XBI metadata, which standardizes the way of receiving the results after the XBI message has been submitted to another chain. So using XBI, and we're also working on the set of extensible clients and receivers and senders, and using those collections of crates that also has been published yesterday as part of the grant submission. As part of those libraries, essentially users and parachains connecting to XBI can expect a consistent results despite whether the execution on the target chain was successful or not. So it provides kind of like a seamless promise-like behavior where users can always expect to receive some sort of notification whether the transaction was successful or not on the target chain. And at the same time, we're integrating XBI and proceeding with continuously expanding the platform of Turn by providing the protocol that sits one level above of XBI and provides the fail-safe mechanism over the parachains to construct the messaging and construct the smart contracts that can submit the transaction over multiple parachains, and using the XBI as one of the primitives. This would be it to share today. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. And again, pinned to this Twitter space is their announcement of XBI. And actually, Mache, your talk at on the Substrate seminar about it. So if you are interested in seeing that, then you can head over to this tweet pinned above. All right. Up next, we have InvArch Network here to talk about GitArch and their DAO CDK.
Hello, Kusama. I hope everyone is doing all right. I figure if you can't hear me, someone will cut me off at some point. Just want to say hello. Thank you for having us again. Last month, we were fortunate enough to hop on here and kind of really introduce, overview InvArch to everyone. This month, coming back just because we have some really exciting updates that we want to share with everyone. First and foremost, let me touch on our GitArch app that we are building and actually in the midst of getting ready to deploy our private beta. GitArch, we're really excited for it. It has the potential to be extraordinarily powerful as a fully decentralized, completely, truly censorship-resistant alternative to centralized platforms such as GitHub and GitLab's. But the reason why we're so excited is because through our approach to developments and the architecture of our InvArch protocol on-chain, it allows us to provide an absolutely seamless experience for developers to transition from using that centralized third-party service to using this decentralized service, experiencing the same powerful features. Obviously, things come in waves, but the same powerful features that you see on GitHub. However, the difference here is there is true code ownership. Like I said, censorship resistance, or censorship proof, which is unlike what we saw happen with Tornado Cash. Even developer identities, their credentials and personal information, are able to remain secure. And beyond that, it gets really awesome and powerful what you can do because this is all built using on top of and using our InvArch protocol, which has to do with NFT primitives, ownership tracking. It gets multi-sig ownership. It gets really awesome. But with all that combined, what individuals, what developers, Web 2, Web 3, obviously this is really powerful for Web 3 devs. But what you're able to do is you can have, you store your Git repository as an NFT on chain. You're able to experience multi-sig, very, very advanced. I'm very confident to say the most advanced multi-sig solution in this ecosystem, maybe anywhere, but definitely in this ecosystem. And use this with collaboration tools to work with other developers, kind of turning, there's GitHub, which is this powerful collaboration tool, but really turning it into not even more so a very powerful, social platform for developers as well when it comes to collaboration, project management, cross-team collaboration, and so forth. You have on-chain treasuries, maintenance treasuries that are directly tied with these repositories. And you can even have it would be a cross-chain dApp. So it's going to be very exciting, a true cross-chain dApp, a dApp that is plugged in and powered, not deployed on multiple networks, but powered by multiple networks. And we're really excited for this because we'll be able to realize features such as automated deployment, CI/CD pipeline deployment, GitHub Actions, be able to bring in those services. Well, it wouldn't be called GitHub Actions, of course, but we'll figure out a name. But be able to provide all of these services in a truly decentralized manner. So we're really excited for what we're building here. Individuals, even dApp developers who are, whether by themselves or in collaboration, working on a dApp, writing smart contracts, could take advantage of built-in auditing tools before deploying directly from the GitArch dApp, choosing any chain that's integrated with, and deploying directly to that chain. And it could be following the auditing for safer code deployment, safer smart contract deployment on these chains. So someone could be building, storing their code base, writing, collaborating on GitArch. And then with just a few clicks, you can deploy on Moonbeam, on Composable, on Astar, on any connected chain to their VM. So as far as the user experience goes of just being a developer in Web3, I mean, let's be honest, the Web2 devs kind of, they get the perks there. But with something like this, I think this is more than just an alternative. It's a lot more than just an alternative to GitHub, because like for the sake of, oh, it can be decentralized and censorship, and those are very powerful, but we take this advantage, this opportunity to make it so much more than even what's possible in Web 2. So we're really excited for everything that we have going on with GitArch. We recently announced that we have a private beta, and we are interested in working with teams both from within and some teams from outside the ecosystem. We already have some really awesome parachain teams that we know for sure are going to be participating in this beta. I'll wait till next week to drop names, but really excited for everything we got going on. But again, if you're interested, we asked you to check out the GitArch Twitter, which at some point will get pinned. Check it out. I apologize if it's not the first thing that you see, but there is very shortly down that line a link to the registration form. Second from that, we have our DAO CDK that I just wanted to touch on. If anyone across the ecosystem has seen like a bunch of these called Udl DAO, all these drawings of individuals that we've been seeing pop up all over the space, it has to do with Udl DAO. Very, very much more than just an NFT collection. We do make sure to have a lot of fun with the art aspect. We think it's very fun, very engaging. There's a lot of like just powerful, really cool things you can do. But what we believe has truly drawn in so much people, like all this attention in such a short amount of time, has been the tech that will actually be powering the DAO. And it's just one other use case, like an example of just the new type of new stuff you can build using InvArch. And with this, and in collaboration with Fala, we would use like a Fala, FAT contract. So able to make like off-chain computation, handle off-chain computation, even make like connect with HTTP. And it's really, really powerful. But create a bot this way. This bot owns the server, a IP set, which is like a multi-sig proxy for ownership on InvArch. It can be that at least. An IP set owns the bot, and then however many people as possible, all the server owners, however you want to do it, they own the IP set through tokens. And then what happens is the actual ownership of the Discord itself is not centralized. There's not this single sole entity who could, if they wanted to, go nuts and delete stuff, make changes. Everything from roles, permissions, like channel restrictions, role permissions, all of that, even with the ability to like verification accessing the server, will all be trustlessly handled on chain. And we're kind of hijacking Discord as the UI that we use to introduce people to this technology. I know with GitArch, we talked about this like fully censorship. Oh, I didn't mention Tinkernet. Well, GitArch features also will be featuring like client solutions. So when it comes to RPC endpoints, that's why it's actually censorship resistant, unlike things like, say, Radical, for example. But with the DAO CDK, we just want to use Discord as a familiar UI for people to jump into, while in the background we work on a fully decentralized, fully censorship resistant like package. But for now, we're just really excited because by introducing this fat stack, fat layer to individuals on-chain governance, really taking away like kind of the problems that make DAOs stay on Discord not DAOs. So we're really excited for this. It's brought in a lot of attention. And like I said, for all the right reasons, for the tech, for what matters. So like I said, if anyone is really big into DAOs and to governance and wants to check us out, then I invite you to. You don't have to buy an NFT to hop in the Discord and ask questions and stuff. So really anyone who's interested, I don't know, we love to educate and stuff. So we invite you. And the last thing I will say is, sorry, a lot of breath here. The last thing I'll say is I'm very, very excited for this as well. It's a really big deal. We'll be announcing a formal date here very, very soon. But coming up towards the end of this month, beginning of next month, our Tinkernet Parachain will be hosting its liquidity bootstrapping pool event, its LBP event. This is very significant, not just for our project. I think it's significant and noteworthy for the entire ecosystem. LBPs is not something, it's not a feature that we have natively been able to showcase in our ecosystem. And thanks to all the amazing guys, the amazing team over at Basilisk, HydraDX, who have been building up the technology, they've made it. They're the ones who have delivered on this. And thanks to their hard work, this ecosystem can now experience LBPs, which are, I mean, debatably, but really the most ideal method for price discovery and distribution. So we're really excited. If you Google successful LBP, you will literally, the first thing that pops up, at least on my feed, is the HydraDX Basilisk team's news from the past. So we're really excited to be working with them. It will be a KSM Tinker pair. I won't show it too much, don't want to be inappropriate. Just want to let everyone know that it's going on, and it is really awesome, not just for us, but really for the ecosystem, because after us, there will be others, and it's just one more step to bringing everyone over to Polkadot. So with all of that, that's InvArch. Thanks for letting me ramble a bit, and I look forward to speaking to y'all again sometime.
Great. Thanks for joining, Dakota. So again, pinned to this Twitter space, we have the tweet from GitArch that introduces what they're doing. If you just swipe right to the tweet that's pinned right now, which is the Yodel DAO guys, which he also talked about. So make sure to head over and learn more. And again, it'll be summed up in the tweet thread coming out following this space. So up next, last but certainly not least, we have Adam from Bitgreen and Brendan from Sequester.
Hey everybody, it's Adam from Bitgreen.
Brendan, hey, this is Brendan. Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having us.
Cool. Well, I know that we're running up against time, so the two of us will make it fairly quickly. I'm the CEO of Bitgreen. We're a parachain committed to developing tools related to sustainability and corporate ESG within the Polkadot ecosystem. And I know that some people might be a little bit skeptical around sustainability and wondering, like, what's the business opportunity on this? Yet we're beginning to see, not only in Europe over the past 5 to 10 years, significant regulation amongst the entire European Union that is making mandatory emissions and carbon purchases and offsets by companies. The European carbon emissions market is now about $800 billion annually. Here in the United States, it's about $1 billion annually, growing 60, 70% year over year. And in the last month, the Biden administration has now passed 2 major bills and amendments that are moving all U.S. corporations toward mandatory emissions and carbon reporting. If you are a company that is listed on any U.S. stock exchange, by next year, I believe you are going to have to mandatorily report your carbon emissions with your quarterly earnings. And nobody really knows how to do this because it's unprecedented. And so there's a massive economic opportunity for companies that can help to drive that market with tools and infrastructure, particularly around measurement, reporting, and verification. And so how does this relate to Polkadot? Well, about a year ago, there was a report by an organization named CCRI that ranked Polkadot as the leading layer 1 network with the lowest emissions, not only usage, but per block. And so in a manner of speaking, that's kind of given Polkadot, or afforded it, the pole position as the leading network for green and sustainability within the block space. And so this is an advantage that we believe that Polkadot as well as Kusama can capitalize on and continually use as a differentiator to other layer 1s. That's not only based on its technology, but it's also based on its tool set and its orientation toward working with large enterprise and corporate partners, as well as sovereign entities and multinationals like NGOs and other nonprofits. And so Bitgreen, along with Sequester and the EverCity team, are developing basically 2 different products, but they work in tandem. The first is being led by Bitgreen. So we're performing an entire a carbon and electricity audit of all of the parachains within the Kusama ecosystem, and then mapping that on top of another model that we've developed that we will open source to estimate the total carbon emission from both networks. So we're really trying to develop a methodology that not only we can have transparency into, but then perhaps it can become the standard throughout the entire block space for all other layer ones. Because right now there's really no guidance or leadership on how to do this. What we will then be doing is creating a dashboard that's like periodically updated every 4 to 6 hours, that is giving a real-time update on that electricity and consumption and emissions across the entire network, and hopefully by each parachain. And then I will turn it over to Brendan here, who will now talk about the palette that he's developing.
Yeah, so we're actually developing a palette and a common good chain. And the idea here, if you haven't heard of Sequester before, is that we can actually make it so easy for teams to take funds from their treasury and offset their carbon emissions that it takes less than 1 day of development time for them to hook into this kind of setup. And the unique part about the Polkadot ecosystem is that in other ecosystems, transaction fees are used to pay validator nodes in order to help them run the networks. But in the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystems, that's not necessarily true. So a lot of teams have these funds from transaction fees, these really, really small transaction fees that are in the Polkadot ecosystem that are piling up on chains treasuries. And we're here to help teams actually leverage those funds to help grow the ecosystem. So by taking some of those transaction fees and converting them to carbon credits in order to offset the impact of the chain, what we're going to allow you to do is to actually make your chain climate positive. And this means that it aligns the incentives of growth for your chain with outside entities who want to see your blockchain succeed. So anytime that anybody brings new users to your blockchain, new transactions to your blockchain, it will grow the pile of funds that gets converted to carbon-backed assets and actually make your chain better for the environment by aligning the incentives of growth of your blockchain with taking carbon out of the atmosphere. And so we're basically building a setup that's going to let other teams hook into this in less than 1 day of development time. And what Adam's talking about as well is, in order to make verifiable claims about the carbon impact that your chain has, you need to also have some way of understanding the carbon that's emitted through your day-to-day operations. And so the Bitgreen team, along with our other partners, Evercity, are creating this framework for every team to be able to, on a pretty live basis, so every, updating multiple times a day, to understand what their carbon emissions are, so that when they offset, they use their transaction fees to purchase carbon credits, they can actually make verifiable claims to say, hey, we're actually taking more carbon out of the atmosphere than we're putting it into it through our day-to-day operations. And so we're really excited about this partnership. We've put up a couple of proposals up for discussion on Polk Assembly. We invite everyone out there to leave feedback, read through what we've put out, and we think that this can be a game changer for the ecosystem because it's accentuating one of the differences that the Polkadot ecosystem has. It's accentuating the better design and leveraging the better design to actually drive growth for all of our users, and quite honestly, establish Polkadot as a major player in this space that is only going to grow to a pretty substantial financial value in the coming years.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up, and I'll just say very quickly, the bang for the buck on this is really material. The combined ask from the Treasury is about $250,000 between the Sequester proposal and the Bitgreen proposal. This is primarily not only about doing good in the world and leading with our values, but it's also about acquiring large enterprise customers who, all of them, whether they're North American or they're European, are going to be evaluating their layer one partners by their carbon and environmental leadership. And all of their boards of directors and their stockholders are asking for this. There's very, very little clarity. It's a very obscure market right now for what is ESG and what these methodologies actually are and how they are verifiable. And if Polkadot can lead the way and continue the momentum that the CCRI report kind of conferred upon us, then it will continue to put us at the table to have conversations with large enterprises and clients who we're very eager to recruit into the Kusama ecosystem. And Brendan and I would be happy to discuss any other details. Please read our proposal, drop some comments. We're monitoring that all the time, or feel free to tweet at us or just reach out via email. Thank Thanks a bunch, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. Thanks both for joining, Adam and Brendan. And again, thank you to all of you that tuned in, that stayed for the whole hour. It was great to have you here. We do these community calls on a monthly basis just to update the community essentially on the latest innovations in the ecosystem from the parachain teams, the latest governance proposals and motions, as well as the latest tech updates from the Parity Tech side as well. So we look forward to seeing you next month. And a big thanks to our speakers today, Council Member Raul, Maciej from Turn, Jonathan from Talisman, Hernan from the Hackathon Latin AM, Zachary from Subsocial, Dakota from InvArch, and Brendan from Sequester, and Adam from Bitgreen. Thanks all, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.